When you're really special, then you're really nowhere. Everyone is special, nobody is unique. When you're really different, then you're really separate. You would not want that, believe me. If you're really with me, then you're really not. So why would you think that at all? If you're really special, then you're really nothing. So you better go home now. I don't wanna go with you, you're not special. I need someone very unique. I don't wanna go with just anybody. You are just some pipsqueak. Get back in the bathtub. Hey, what's the matter with you? There we go. Yeah! Shit but shot, boogly bye. All right, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna try and take a break. I don't know if that's possible. I'd have to have some kind of material ready.
Finally, I got my own computer. I was so psyched to explore a whole new world. I just don't feel normal. My friends are nice, but they just don't get me.
I feel like such a weirdo!
Where do you go to be understood. I found this online show. I can call in. I can express myself. Be on TV. Weirdos TV. Weirdos.com. Sometimes a stranger can be your best friend.
We are talking about is how inaccurate these current standards are.
Yeah.
As a scientist, we need standards. So the point is to make these standards more accurate. And that's what we're doing here at Fellow One Research we recognize that these standards, the Biotype 1, the B.M.I, and the B.M.I, they are inaccurate standards currently. So there are so many people who go and see their doctor and they get tired of their doctor holding them to these standards that are not accurate.
That's right.
We're more accurate so that we have a better understanding of why there are so many different human body traits.
Here's the question. So how will you promote your standard? Now look, I'm going to give you a spoiler here. I live in the future. So I already know the answer to the question that I'm going to ask you. I'm like a lawyer. I only ask questions that I already know the answer to. Okay, so it's a bit of a trick question. I know the answer. But what is your plan for making your standard be accepted by the AMA?
Well, that's probably quite a ways down the road.
Yes, I know.
So it's about gathering the scientific evidence.
Good.
And having enough of it so that our case and our point is...
Okay, I'm gonna cut you off right there. Again, it's a trick question. I live in the future. I know how you solve this problem in some futures. In some futures, you don't figure it out, and it never becomes the standard. We don't want that. We want you to become the standard. I'm trying to help. I know you're not going to believe me. You probably think I'm not really from the future. That's understandable. I'm not telling you what to believe. But I'm going to tell you the solution. You remember John Lennon? Remember John?
Yes.
All we are saying is give peace a chance. Right. Now, that's a great idea John had, right? Give peace a chance. Now, John knew that if he simply said to all the politicians and the important people, please stop fighting, it will be very simple. Just give peace a chance and we'll see how it goes. John was not that stupid. So John said to himself, I'm going to have to advertise for peace. Now, he died before he could complete this mission that he was working on. But he started an advertising campaign for peace. He had enough money. You don't have enough money. You're not a moneymaker. That's not your job. You're a brilliant person. So just keep doing that. But there's a person who you're going to meet in 3 years in some realities and 4 years in others, but 3 to 4 years. You meet this person, might be a guy, might be a girl, depends on the reality. I don't know which timeline you're in. And this person comes to you and says, I know how to market your ideas. And you're going to resist. You're going to say, no, it's not about marketing. This is real science. This is science. She blinded me with science. Okay. But don't do that. When that person says, I'm going to sell your idea, just don't waste any time. There's no time to waste. Go ahead and say yes. They'll take over. They're going to sell your idea, and then it'll become the de facto standard of the American Medical Association from 2030 through, in perpetuity until, in my time, they stop having bodies. So once there's no more bodies, your standard doesn't really apply. It's not important. So that's my advice to you. Don't say no to the advertisers. They know how to make this work, and they know how to make people sit up and listen. But here's the thing. I've got a much better plan. Here's how you can cure all known diseases. Would you like to cure all known diseases?
Well, I would say that disease is really an imbalance. So I think that what we are really doing is imbalance.
I understand. And I agree. So I'm going to give you the secret right now. to curing all known diseases. Works like this. So first, this is the hard part. You have to invent a cure for one particular disease. Doesn't matter what it is. But it should be something, a really good cure. Something really effective. It has to, work. So you create this really brilliant cure, and everybody really sits up and takes notice at that point. They really think, wow, this guy can really cure diseases. So then, at that point, you've really got the ear of the medical community, and that's your real goal. So the cure is just a stepping stone. And once you create that stepping stone and the medical community really starts to listen to you, then you tell them how to do it right so that there's no more diseases ever again. That simple. Okay, so what else did you want to plug here tonight on the show? Besides your body? In
terms of body type shape, I think that many of your listeners identify with the fact that they aren't a body type one, and they never have been, so they're being held to an unfair standard, which is all that we're saying is we would like to improve that standard. We would like to bring the child forward so that more people understand that there is more than one body shape,
right?
There's more than one body type, more than one genetic, scientific body type.
Of course.
And once they understand what their genetic, scientific body type is, one of the 4 body types, then they can better understand their diet, exercise, and lifestyle, and live a healthier, happier life.
I agree. But here's the thing. A lot of people make the assumption that the body types that constitute larger amounts of flesh, let's say you're not a small person, you take up a lot of space in girth. And there seems to be, again, this doesn't happen in my time. In my time, this is laughed at. In my time, this is just ridiculous. But in your time, there seems to be this fallacy where if you're a larger person and you take up more space in the world, they immediately assume that in and of itself is less healthy than if you were, say, a very tiny person who takes up a very small amount of space in the universe. Somehow that gets a rap as good and large bad. Have you noticed that?
I have. So what scientists is finding is things like the obesity paradox and metabolically healthy obese are actually a real thing.
Yes, I would like to hear more about this because I know someone, I used to work in the circus. You might be surprised, but I've been in the circus. I know it seems strange. I'm such a regular guy, but I was the ringleader, the band leader, the leader of the circus. And I owned the circus, and my girlfriend was the fat lady in the circus, right? Beautiful girl. Fantastic and brilliant, a poet, a dancer. So she was not small, and I took her home to meet Mom back when I had a body and a mom, which wasn't my real mom. It's a long story. But I took her home to Mom, and Mom said, "Oh, she's big." And I laughed real loud because, yeah, there's no denying. And I said, "That's true, Mom. She's not small." But I said, "Mom, it's not the first thing I noticed about her." When she walked into the room on our first date, I didn't say, "Oh my God, look at that fat chick." No. I said, "That's a beautiful woman, and I'm in love." And yes, at that point, I also noticed that she was not a small girl. Very large, beautiful girl, gorgeous, and as you're saying, very healthy, much healthier than myself. She lived with a regular body like yours. She lived to be over 150 years old because, of course, in your time, most people are living to, what, about 100? About 100? That's standard in your time? What's a standard lifespan in your year? 80
years.
Okay, 80. All right, whatever. Yeah, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It changes. It changes over time. So, I'm sure that the reason that they think that in history people didn't live very long is because most people died before they were 5. So the average age people live to is about 40, but plenty of people live to 60 or whatever. But anyway, in about 10 years from where you are now, about 2035, people live to generally about 125. It becomes more standard, just the way most people live to about 70, 80 in your time. In about 2035, medical science has gotten so good. It's the genetic code stuff. They get people living to about 125, 150, just standard. It's no longer a thing, right? Everybody's like, oh, you're 150, good for you, you know. Now at that point, right, so you figure some of those people are going to live to 150. So by the year 2060, 2070, Apple starts making synthetic bodies. Guess what they call it? The iBody, right? So they make the iBodies and they're great. I had several of them. They're great. And then we realize, what's the point? You just digitize yourself. You exist as pure consciousness. Oh, much simpler. I could be a lot of things, you know. I could be anything. Look how thin I am. Now look. I'm thin. I'm flat. Here. I'm flat. I'm so thin you can't even see me. I'm a supermodel, right? Who cares? So seriously, so when we stop, so here's the thing. People discriminate against fat people. People discriminate against gay people. In my time, we got to the point where we stopped discriminating against the weirdos. It's the last group to get their rights. Doesn't matter. You could be fat. You could be old. You could be gay. And you got your rights. But the weirdos, no. Took years for the weirdos to get their rights. So I hear that you're helping body positivity. I appreciate that. But just keep in mind the weirdos. All about the weirdos. Until they get their due, I don't know what to do.
I think it's about human rights in general, right?
That's right. Of course.
Understand that human rights are a basic right that all human beings have. Yeah. And it's really no different than a scientific truth, which applies to all people equally.
Oh,
so whatever these.
How's your math? Do you know math? Are you good with math?
It would depend on how complex the amount is.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty complex. There's this polynomial theory that I read. It has to do with transcendent numbers. Have you heard of these transcendent numbers?
I want to say yes, but if you can,
it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go see a mathematician next week. They're gonna straighten out for me. I'm trying to get ready because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of the mathematicians. I figure if I could find somebody who just has some basic knowledge of both polynomial theory and these transcendent numbers. The transcendent numbers are kind of like imaginary numbers. Like some imaginary numbers are transcended, but like pi is like the standard transcendent number. So that gives you an idea of it, but anyway, it's not important. So I'm trying to solve this equation. I'm trying to do the modeling. It's not going well. It's very complicated. It's rough. And if I can't solve the problem, if I can't model it, I'm afraid the future won't turn out the right way. Bothering me. It's keeping me up at night.
Sounds like you just lack knowledge.
That's it. In fact, I have a religion. It's not science. It's called Gnosticism. I'm a Gnostic, not agnostic. I used to be agnostic, but then I made a decision that I was Gnostic.
Is that true, or are you being sarcastic?
You know who invented sarcasm? Ask me who invented sarcasm.
Who invented sarcasm?
I did! Jesus. Yeah, no, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm really a Gnostic. Because the Gnostics, first of all, the Gnostics are always in search of knowledge. So you understand, I'm in search of knowledge. Everything, I just want more and more knowledge. The skeleton behind you has knowledge that we don't have. Here's what I found out recently. You might not know this. Electrons are sentient. You know? Electrons. They're sentient. They're conscious.
Here's a little bit of knowledge for you. So
thank you.
So in in terms of gnosis or Gnosticism, it's actually spiritual science, and that's actually what we do.
That's right. And the main tenet of Gnosticism is that by definition, each person's spiritual path is different. They're not only is there not one size fits all, not only can you not go to church and say if you do this, then you're spiritually hip. By definition, anything that someone else is doing is not going to be exactly right for you. You're going to have to find your own spiritual path, and there's no one else that can walk it for you. There's no one else can explain it for you. There's no one else can find it for you, and there's no one else can define it for you. So it's all up to you. You walk your spiritual path or you don't. And if you don't, guess what? You got to start all over again next time. So I've been walking my spiritual path real good. Next time I don't have to come back. This is my last time through. And I get to hang out here. I can do whatever I want. I can be whatever I want. I can do musical numbers. I can meet with wonderful people like you. But mainly I'm just trying to stay present until this one is done. I'm at 999 years old, right? So I don't die at 1,000, but it's enough, you know. So if you ever get to live forever, that's my advice. Don't live past 1,000. 1,000 is actually more fun than you'd think. You don't run out of stuff I didn't run out of stuff to do in 1,000 years. But yeah, as I got into the last century, I just, it's all about the math and trying to calculate the multiple dimensions and see how many you can line up all at once. It's fun. It's fun, but I'm going to be moving on. And it's great. There's a lot more outside of this multiverse. There's a whole other multiverse. Totally different. Antimatter. You know about antimatter? You ever look into an electron microscope, Doc?
Probably in my past, yes.
Yeah. No, if you spend your time like I do down at the quantum level, that's really where I exist. I don't actually exist on the regular physics level. It's only quantum. Superposition. I'm always in a superposition, right? I'm like Schrodinger's cat, but like with infinite lives, right? So I could be infinitely alive or infinitely dead at every moment, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and I can see all the dimensions in your multiverse. But so then there's this reverse multiverse. It's exactly the opposite of your multiverse. So where there's matter in your multiverse is antimatter, and if any of the antimatter from that multiverse gets into yours, it's curtains. Can't happen. It can last about 1 microsecond, because otherwise the whole thing blows apart. So it doesn't happen. There's no antimatter in your universe. There's the thing that you guys are looking for, this dark matter, not in your multiverse. It's not there. It's in the other one. It's in the opposite one, the counterpart. We call it the counterpart. And there's an infinite amount of universes in your multiverse, and there's an infinite amount of universes in the other multiverse. That's 2 infinities. Your math isn't good enough for this. But here, I'll teach you soul math. Do you know soul math? It's very easy. I'll teach you soul math. Here, I'm going to give you a test. It's soul math. So in a soul math, so you have one soul, and you add it. One soul plus one soul. What's the equation? What's the answer to that equation? One soul plus one soul equals
one soul.
That's right. Oh, you're good. Okay, all right. I figured you were that. All right. Now here's the harder one. Okay. So one soul divided by 1,000 equals
one soul.
No. I knew you wouldn't get that one. It's much harder. But you'll get it. It's very simple. One soul divided by 1,000 equals 1,000 souls. Souls are infinitely divisible. There's no amount of times you can divide a soul where you've run out of soul. It doesn't get smaller. It's not like a pie. The more you cut it up, the more it's kind of like a worm. The more you cut it up, the more ones you have, infinitely. You can cut up. I said 1,000. It was just an example. So again, the infinity is where things get strange. You cut the soul up an infinite amount of times, and then you get the multiverse. But infinities are very hard. There's several kinds of infinities, and you have to be careful of some of them, and others are lots of fun. Have you taken LSD, psychedelics, thing?
Mushrooms.
Ayahuasca? Yeah, mushrooms, yeah. So that's the only place where you can understand the multiverse a little bit. The next time you're taking mushrooms, what you do is you stand in the corner. Gotta be like the corner of the room. And you stand there, you gotta stand there for a while until you settle, until all the dimensions around you settle, right? So the idea is you're looking for the local, what we call the local cluster, which is all the dimensions nearby. So, for instance, if you decide to go left instead of right, the two dimensions, right? There's a dimension where you went right, there's a dimension when you went left. Your consciousness pays attention to one of those, but the other one is fully extant. So there's, in your local cluster, there's all those sort of decisions. Did you leave home? Did you go to work? Did you get married? Or all the decisions that you make in your life, the big ones. So the local cluster is fine, but then if you wander away from that, things get really strange, and you have to be careful. So as you make decisions in your life, you want to always say yes when opportunity presents itself. And then you'll understand. When you take mushrooms, you'll be able to stand in the corner, and all the dimensions will momentarily align, because in all of the local cluster dimensions, you'll be standing in a corner. It won't be the same corner. In some dimensions, you'll be standing in a corner in Hollywood, and others you'll be in Florida. I don't know, whatever, wherever you go. It's not my point. You're different corners, but it's a corner, and you're standing in the corner of the room, and you're very relaxed. And then you have to do this very slowly, because it's not supposed to work like this. You can catch the edge. You turn very slowly, you look in your peripheral vision, but you don't think about it, because if you start thinking about it, it goes away. It's like Schrodinger's cat, right? As soon as you decide if the cat is dead or alive, it's over. But for a moment, you don't know. The superposition, you don't know yet. So in that moment where you're not sure what's going on and you don't even think about it, you turn your head really slow and you'll see the other dimensions. You'll see them. They're there.